do you ever feel challenged by folks in one realm or the? I mean, certainly rock stars would be like, sure, man, like you're for the earth. I mean, they're not going to be mad at that. But I guess I'm imagining on the flip side, it's like someone who's been in climate. It's like, oh, who's this pop star? Who thinks we should be going about it a certain way?
Yeah. So there's actually pushback on both sides.
What kind of musician would it be into the earth? But continue.
On the music side, so there are some really great climate advocates on the music side. Billie Eilish is great. Even Shawn Mendes, Chris Martin does a lot. Jack Johnson, Dave Matthews. There are a lot of kind of big artists that support climate. But the line between when you're trying to engage your fans around music, what happens if you start talking about a topic that turns away your fans, that your fans don't like? So in advocacy in general, Olivia Rodrigo on her tour had abortion advocacy. I'm sure that turned away some of her fans. So that's where the question starts to be. If they're there for entertainment, where do you weave in these other messages? Where do you weave in advocacy? And we talk about that a lot. But on the other side, when I first started working in policy and climate policy, and this is at the local level, the state level, the federal level, and now I'm working with a bunch of international governments on setting their climate agendas, a lot of the time, until recently, I would walk into the office and they would be like, oh my God, you're from AJR, my kid loves you. Can we take a video? Can we take a selfie?
Sure.
Great, happy to. And then I quickly transition the conversation to whatever policy they're working on. In the last handful of months, it has kind of flipped. So more meetings now, people don't know that I'm in AJR and they're there for the climate stuff, which, I mean, I'm happy for both. The fact that I'm getting more known for the climate stuff is great.
You'd be like, you do realize I'm a pop star, and I'm now going to get on a plane and fly and play to an arena. Like,
yeah, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. But, I mean, it's an interesting balance, right? Because I love using the platform of the music to talk about things, but I also don't want to come across as, oh, just another celebrity with a cause that cares about something, because I put just as much time and energy into the music side of things as I have into all of this, because I care about it so deeply. And honestly, at their core, they're not too different from each other, right? Like you were saying with collective effervescence, building a fan base, building that community to go out and actually take action and do something, it's all answering the question, how do you move people? What are the tools? Is it emotion? Is it communication? What are all of these strategies? That's the same thing for the climate movement. That's why I wrote this book. But people say, oh, you need to transition your mind. First you're in one place and then you're in the other. It's honestly the same for me. When I'm thinking about growing our fan base, we just announced we're putting out an EP this summer with a bunch of new songs on it. When I think about, okay, how do we grow the audience for that? How do we get that out there, get people to understand it, share it? It's all the same thing as what I'm doing with climate.
Thank you, listeners. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, send them to mailbag@andrewyang.com, and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you. People should examine what you're doing with Planet Reimagined. Mm-hmm. How would you describe the work? And one thing I like about it is that you haven't confine yourself to traditional party lines as one example.
Absolutely. So Planet Reimagined, I think of it, so basically we bridge the gap between thought and action. So much of thought and scholarship happens in academic spaces and think tanks, which are great. But very rarely is research developed with an eye towards how can we implement it really quickly. The idea behind it is we incubate creative climate ideas the way a tech company would incubate, like using R&D, right? So we do policy, we do advocacy, we do comms, we work with governments and companies, all of these different kind of stakeholders in order to build creative solutions. One of the kind of projects that's running the fastest is this idea of collocation. Never before in the US has this been allowed. We figured out a way to put renewable energy on top of current oil and gas land. So in the US, there's about 23 million acres or so of oil and gas land. A lot of it's been disturbed by oil and gas infrastructure. We worked with someone from NASA to figure out how to put solar panels on top of some of the land where relevant and wind turbines on top of other of the land where relevant. We can
so when I hear this, I'm thinking like oil fields in Oklahoma, Texas, those sorts of places.
Yeah, our first 3 states are Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. But in all of these places that you mentioned, that's exactly where we can be putting it. It's all federal land. And it actually gives these small leaseholders, these small mom and pop oil shops that were actually losing money year over year, literally a new lease on life. They have new revenue. And one of the interesting things is that instead of taking solar and disturbing new land, we can actually use pre-disturbed land. We can take advantage of some of the infrastructure that's already there. And because there's roads, there's buildings, there's
the energy infrastructure.
Exactly,
because
we're connected to hookups.
Things out.
Exactly. And then the other thing is, we think a lot about community engagement, right? So one of the things in these states that I just mentioned, in Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, royalties from oil and gas fund schools and fund hospitals. So it's one of the reasons why people are very hesitant to move away from this form of energy, but we figured out a way for this new energy to fund schools and hospitals. So we worked on this bill with members of Congress, and not everything I do will be in the policy space, will be with Republicans and Democrats in equal number. Because I see what happens when you work with just one side or the other, and then it ends up flipping and flipping and flipping. So we introduced a bill last year in the House and this year in the Senate, and it is the first energy-related bill that has equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats supporting it. So it's there in the Senate now. It's called the Collocation Energy Act. It will open up oil and gas land to put solar and wind on top of it.
That's such a win-win for everyone, because check it out. If I'm like let's say I'm, Republican in red state that loves its oil and gas, and then you come and say, hey, you want to put solar panels on top of it, and then the leaseholder's like, oh, it makes some more money, and then you're like, so you're not trying to take away my oil and gas, you're just trying to add another layer. And so the red state person's like, well, sure, I mean, dollars and cents and the rest of it, I say yes. And then if you're a Democrat, you quite enjoy the image of solar panels as far as the eye can see, or wind turbines. And so you can get people from both sides on board, and the Earth doesn't really care how how it got passed.
Right. Exactly. And so solar is the cheapest form of energy. There's no kind of negotiation on that. Solar is the cheapest form of energy. As we're building these out and working on the economics of it and the finances of it, a lot of these oil and gas companies will see on their balance sheet that solar is the cheapest form of energy. So as we do this, yes, they can co-locate, they can continue producing oil and gas, but that is a finite resource.
It's going to run out eventually.
It's going to run out. And then they'll still have all of the solar production or wind production.
So smart. It'll eventually end up just, you see it shifting over time.
Exactly.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Please do hit like and subscribe, and hit that bell if you want to be notified every time a new episode drops. Thank you.